Good morning, YouTube family. I've been talking about mental health and forgiveness here lately. I've got an article here by Robert Enright on 8 Keys to Forgiveness. It is from Berkeley College. He says forgiveness can be incredibly difficult. When another person hurts us, it can upend our lives. And we all know this from our own experience. Sometimes the hurt is very deep, such as when a spouse or parent betrays our trust, or when we are victims of crime, or when we've been harshly bullied. Forgiveness is strong medicine for this. When life hits us hard, there's nothing as effective as forgiveness for healing deep wounds. Many people have misconceptions about what forgiveness really means, and they may eschew it. Others may want to forgive, but wonder whether or not they truly can. All right, so the first key is to know what forgiveness is and why it matters. He says forgiveness is about goodness, about extending mercy to those who've harmed us, even if they don't deserve it. That is profound. It's not about finding excuses for the offending person's behavior or pretending that it didn't happen, nor is it a quick formula you can follow. Forgiveness is a process with many steps that often proceeds in a non-linear fashion. He goes on to say, but it's worth the effort. Working on forgiveness can help us increase our self-esteem and give us a sense of inner strength and safety. It can reverse the lies that we often tell ourselves when someone hurts us deeply. Lies like, I am defeated or I'm not worthy. Forgiveness can heal us and allow us to move on in life with meaning and purpose. Forgiveness matters, and we will be its primary beneficiary, like I said in one of my other videos. Number 2, become forgivingly fit. He says to practice forgiveness, it helps if you have worked on positively changing your inner world by learning to be what he calls forgivingly fit. Just as you would start slowly with a new physical exercise routine, it helps if you build up your forgiving heart muscles slowly, incorporating regular workouts into your everyday life. He says you can start by becoming more fit by making a commitment to do no harm. In other words, making a conscious effort not to talk despairingly about those who've hurt you. You don't have to say good things, but if you refrain from talking negatively, it will feed the more forgiving side of your mind and heart. He says you can also make a practice of recognizing that every person is unique, special, and irreplaceable. You may come to this through religious beliefs or a humanistic philosophy, or even through your belief in evolution. All right, so he covered the whole gamut there. It's important to cultivate this mindset of valuing our common humanity so that it becomes harder to discount someone who has harmed you as unworthy. Number 3 is address your inner pain, and there's a lot more. I'm just kind of just giving you the highlights, and I will put the link below where you can read the whole article for yourself. Address your inner pain. It's important to figure out who has hurt you and how. This may seem obvious, but not every action that causes you suffering is unjust. For example, you don't need to forgive your child or your spouse for being imperfect, even if their imperfections are inconvenient for you. To become clearer, you can look carefully at the people in your life, your parents, siblings, peers, spouse, co-workers, children, and even yourself, and rate how much they have hurt you. Perhaps they have exercised power over you or withheld love, or maybe they have physically harmed you. These hurts have contributed to your inner pain and need to be acknowledged. Doing this will give you an idea of who needs forgiveness in your life and provide a place to start. Number 4, it says develop a forgiving mind through empathy. Scientists have studied what happens in the brain when we think about forgiving and have discovered that when people successfully imagine forgiving someone in a hypothetical situation, they show increased activity in the neural circuits responsible for empathy. This tells us that empathy is connected to forgiveness and is an important step in the process. He goes on to say, you may be able to put an entire narrative together for the person who hurt you from early childhood through adulthood, or just imagine it from what you know. You may be able to see her physical frailties or psychological suffering and begin to understand the common humanity that you share. You may recognize her as a vulnerable person who has wounded you in return, You may recognize her as a vulnerable person who was wounded and wounded you in return. It's like I said earlier in one of my other videos, hurt people hurt people. Despite that, what she may have done to hurt you, you realize that she did not deserve to suffer either. So see, because she suffered, she wanted you to suffer. But she didn't know any better. And that's tragic. Recognizing that we all carry wounds in our hearts can help open the door to forgiveness. Number 5, find meaning in your suffering. When we suffer a great deal, it is important that we find meaning in what we have endured. Without seeing meaning, a person can lose a sense of purpose, which can lead to hopelessness and a despairing conclusion that there is no meaning to life itself. And if you're at this point and you feel like it's better off to exit this world, I want to encourage you not to do that. There's all kinds of hotlines out there. There's a veteran crisis line. There's the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. Get on the phone, call somebody, reach out to somebody. If the person that you feel like you need to call doesn't pick up the phone, their phone has been turned off, they turned it off, whatever the case, call someone else, call another line, because there are people out there that care for you, that want the best for you, even if they don't know you. That doesn't mean we need to look for suffering in order to grow or to try to find goodness in another's bad actions. Instead, we try to see how our suffering has changed us in a positive way. Number 6, when forgiveness is hard, call upon other strengths. Forgiveness is always hard when we are dealing with deep injustices from others. I've known people who refuse to use the word forgiveness because it just makes them so angry. That's okay. We all have our own timelines for when we can be merciful. But if you want to forgive and you're finding it hard, it might help to call upon other resources. Remember that if you're struggling with forgiveness, that doesn't mean you're a failure at forgiveness. Forgiveness is a process that takes time, patience, and determination. So it's not a one and done. It's not an instant. It's not like putting chocolate powder into milk and having chocolate milk. It's a little more involved than that. He says to surround yourself with good and wise people who support you and who have the patience to allow you time to heal in your own way. So see, the way they experience forgiveness may not be the way that you experience forgiveness. So like I said, it's not a one-size-fits-all type deal. Try to develop courage and patience in yourself to help you in the journey. Also, if you practice bearing small slights against you without lashing out, you give a gift to everyone, not only to the other person, but to everyone whom that person may harm in the future because of your anger. You can help end the cycle of inflicting pain on others. So be the change. If you're still finding it hard to forgive, you can choose to practice with someone who is easier to forgive. Maybe someone who hurt you in a small way rather than deeply. Alternatively, It can be better to focus on forgiving the person who is at the root of your pain. Maybe a parent who was abusive, or a spouse who betrayed you. If your initial hurt impacts other parts of your life and other relationships, it may be necessary to start there. Number 7, it says to forgive yourself. Most of us tend to be harder on ourselves than we are on others, and we struggle to love ourselves. I know this is true from my experience. When I'm not loving toward myself, I'm not loving toward others. If you're not feeling lovable because of actions you've taken, you may need to work on self-forgiveness and offer to yourself what you offer to others who have hurt you, a sense of inherent worth despite your actions. So, I don't know what it is, but obviously there's something that I'm holding on to subconsciously, and it's causing me anguish. So I need to, I guess, get alone and to find a place to research this and to get to the root of it and to forgive that person, whoever he or she may have been, that I'm blocking out. I'm obviously blocking it out. But anyway, I have to get to that place to where I can identify that person so that I can forgive them, so that I can proceed on with my life and practice what I'm preaching right here. It goes on to say, in self-forgiveness, you honor yourself as a person, even if you are imperfect. And we all are. We're all imperfect. If you've broken your personal standards in a serious way, there's a danger of sliding into self-loathing. When this happens, you might not take good care of yourself. You might overeat or oversleep or start smoking or engage in other forms of self-punishment. You need to recognize this and move toward self-compassion. Soften your heart toward yourself. After you've been able to self-forgive, you will also need to engage in seeking forgiveness from others whom you've harmed and right the wrongs as best you can. It's important to be prepared for the possibility that the other person may not be ready to forgive you, and to practice patience and humility. But a sincere apology, free of conditions and expectations, will go a long way toward your receiving forgiveness in the end. Number 8, finally, developing a forgiving heart. When you've overcome suffering, you gain a more mature understanding of what it means to be humble, courageous, and loving in the world. We may be moved to create an atmosphere of forgiveness in our homes and workplaces to help others who've been harmed overcome their suffering, and to protect our communities from a cycle of hatred and violence. And that's what the world needs today, is more love. All of these choices can lighten the heart and bring joy to one's life. Some people may believe that love for another who's harmed you is not possible, but I've found that many people who forgive eventually find a way to open their hearts. If you shed bitterness and put love in its place, and then repeat this with many, many other people, you become free to love more widely and deeply. This kind of transformation can create a legacy of love that will live on long after you're gone. So there you have it, 8 steps to forgiveness. I know this was long, but like I said, I'm trying to interject more of my self-experience into these videos, so that I'm not just regurgitating someone else's material. I'm kind of ad-libbing alongside what they've already developed, and to also give you some scholarly, expert, a lot of these are from doctors in their fields, material to support what I'm trying to convey and to helping you become a better you. Remember, Jesus loves you. I love you. Have a good day.